Welcome to the Thursday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Thursday. Holy yikes, you guys are kicking things off with a generous show of support. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Kicking things off, Heat with 10 biddies, Alio with a tier 1 sub for 27 months. That's over 2 years, folks. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much. Alio, thank you, Heat. I appreciate the support. Thank you. Welcome. I appreciate it. And Alio with another 10 biddies just to kind of round things off. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Whew, you guys are on fire today. Sheesh. I haven't even started yet. I have not even started yet. Mr. coming in hot with a Prime subscription for 24 months. That is exactly 2 years till the day. Thank you. I appreciate that. Jesus. Michael Hassler, indeed. Will we have high expectations? Oh, shoot. You mean I actually got to do something? What? For real, thank you guys so much for the support. It's you guys that make this channel go. I appreciate it. Thank you. Keep it coming, folks. It really does help us out. All right. Today we've got quite the amount of stuff. Whew. So I guess we should get to it, huh? That's why I'm here. Let me see. How do I get to my... here we are. Okay. Jesus Christ. Yeah, get to work. All right. Get to it. Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. The show of support has been wild. Thank you. All right. Heat with another 10 biddies. Sheesh. Should we wait for trolls? Nah. They'll be here. By the way, I would also like to reiterate, I guess do another quick shout out to Tina_2 for the raid and bringing her wonderful community over. She was doing a wonderful stream. She was doing a wonderful stream earlier. Highly recommend it. Also, follow twitch.tv/AlioShare as well. Wonderful folks. Alio with another 5 biddies. Do moths like lights? Do moths like lights? Yes. I see what you did there. I see what you did there. All right, folks. Let's get the ball rolling. First up, I think we should probably kick things off. Also, just as like a side note, Just as like a side note to before we begin, thank you for all the folks who have subscribed to the YouTube channel as well. We are currently at 212. Nice. I've never had that many subscribers in a YouTube channel. Okay. Everyone counts. All right, let's kick things off with this article here. A group of Republicans are pushing a so-called Fair Tax Act. Fair Tax Act. And by fair, what they mean is fair to the wealthy. Just a little asterisk there. A group of House Republicans are pushing to eliminate most federal taxes and replace them with a federal sales tax in a plan that would also abolish the IRS, which is ludicrous to say the least. Yeah, not exactly a feasible game plan over here, but make the billionaires tithe? Ha! One can only hope. Speaking of YouTube, no more conservative and or anti-woke. Stop it, YouTube. Oh yeah, no, that's all the rage. Despite what the conservatives are crying about in terms of like censorship or whatever bullshit, conservatives are doing fine when it comes to social media. Okay. I mean, you've got people like freaking PragerU, the Daily Wire, Steven Crowder with 5 million subscribers. I mean, yeah. Yeah, the biggest like names on alternative media and the biggest names in the that consistently make the top of the algorithm are conservatives. Unless the president or Senate agree, the GOP House is wasting its time. Yeah, I think that's kind of the point. I'm pretty sure it's pretty sure that's the idea. I mean, not that they're not serious about this. But yeah, this is going, just to be clear, this is going nowhere. Yeah, I mean, Russell Brand is what, like 6 million? Over 6 million subscribers? Wild. Absolute garbage, Drew. Yeah, I mean, we've got Trump. Trump is returning to Facebook and Instagram. Trump has returned to Twitter, although he has not used it officially, but his account has been reinstated. That has what, like 10 like millions of followers? I mean, a lot. A lot. So, yeah, conservatives are definitely dominating in a lot of social media. I think some numbers are bots. I mean, statistically, if you're a channel with like 6 million subs, yeah, I'm pretty sure you're gonna have some of them be bots. At least 200 of AADT's YouTube subs are bots. True. I made them myself. Not all the numbers match Truth Social. Well, Truth Social doesn't have a lot of reach. Truth Social really doesn't have like that much reach, so it's not really comparable. If Trump decides that he's going to return to like normal social media, Truth Social is just gonna die, essentially, as a company or as a platform, whatever that means. All right, so let's kick things off here. A group of House Republicans are pushing to eliminate most federal taxes and replace them with a federal sales tax and a plan that would also abolish the IRS. But tax experts warn the so-called FAIR Act is not so fair to working families while giving the wealthiest Americans a break. Damn. Wow. What a surprise. And I would also like to point out that, like, on its face, it is absolutely ridiculous to think that your solution to solving or, like, bettering the tax code or the tax system is to implement a massive tax on, like, actual goods which people need to buy, which just only essentially really fucks over the working class, to eliminate the rest of the taxes. It just doesn't make any sense. And to abolish the IRS. Like, okay, yeah, true, but even Trump page on TV/web network is ripping off Ted Turner's Stagnant. Yeah. Trump basically is kind of just like stuck. Trump is basically stuck with that core, core support. That's pretty much it. His chances of expanding any base, like, is pretty much done. But it's still a significant, core, but I don't suspect that he's going to amass more of a base. Anywho, the bill, which is H.R. 25, House Resolution 25, would eliminate all individual and corporate income taxes, capital gains, and payroll taxes and estate taxes. Damn, who does that disproportionately benefit? Damn, dude. Wild. Wild. So we're just gonna, eliminate capital gains, corporate income tax, payroll taxes, estate taxes. Oh, yeah, and individual taxes, I guess, while we're at it. To impose a 23% sales tax on goods and services. Yeah. Echo Russell Dragon, how's it going? Welcome. Oh man. This is ludicrous. Oh yeah, 100%, Alio. That's exactly correct. Getting rid of the capital gains, payroll taxes, and estate taxes 100% disproportionately benefit the wealthy, okay? Imposing a 23% sales tax on goods and services disproportionately F's over everybody else. Oh, man. However, tax experts point out that the way this tax is calculated, Americans would end up paying closer to 30% for everyday purchases. Can you imagine living in a world where everything, like, mind you, this is the same party that is complaining about inflation. This is the same party that's complaining about inflation and trying to pin it on the Biden administration, right? They've been attempting to beat this inflation drum, and their genius idea is not to put the blame on where it is, not to acknowledge the fact all the different factors that have caused inflation, and attempting to at least offer some type of logical solution to this. Like, I don't know, maybe punishing corporations for continuing to raise prices while making record profits. How about that? No, their solution is to make everything about 30% more in an attempt to eliminate basically all taxes, disproportionately benefiting the wealthy, and making things about 30% more expensive. Maybe I'm silly, but the states want their revenue, and 23% tax rate is too high. Oh yeah, like it's gonna be way worse than what the system we have is now. Like the system we have now is pretty bad, or at the very least, it's not efficient, and it doesn't tax the wealthy nearly as much. But their plan is just ridiculous. 23% tax rate on every like sales, like for goods and whatnot, like food. Again, this is the same party that was just complaining about how things are so expensive now because of inflation. And this is their idea? This is their grand idea? Yeah. John Boyd, researcher at the Tax Policy Center, said that this would hit the middle class the hardest. Currently, there are deductions, both standard and itemized deductions, that help offset income tax, but those would be eliminated. Those people will see tax increases and they would be quite sizable. Yeah, and there's also no way of like writing off things that you would normally be able to, especially in the gig economy where you're not on a W-2, you're on a 1099. And you kind of need, to be able to deduct that, because if you're like a contractor and whatnot, when you're a contractor, you're able to at least weather some of the costs by trying to write off some of these expenses, since you're an independent contractor. And in this gig economy, again, this disproportionately F's over the poor and the working class. See, this is when I get quiet and stop commenting because I'm just too pissed off. I mean, yeah, you should be. Yeah, it's the appropriate response. Oh, this was 2 years ago. Biden proposes minimum 15% tax for corporations. Yeah, I mean, they should really raise it higher. But sure. Yeah, I think we talked about this one. Those people will see tax increases and they could be quite sizable. While the bill would likely lead to a hike for middle-income Americans, it does include a monthly rebate for families depending on size and income, so lower-income families would likely not feel as big of an impact, but the greatest benefit would go to those with the highest incomes. Damn. The wealthiest of wealthy would actually see the biggest tax cuts from this switch. Like middle-income Americans, older Americans would like to also face a greater tax burden if moved to a regressive tax system. Tax experts say the move would shift when many retirees pay taxes from when they are currently taken upon withdrawal from retirement accounts to purchases. Current rates are typically less than 30%, so the change in how much they pay in taxes would depend on consumption, but it could add up. For people with Roth IRA retirement accounts, there could also be a threat of their money being taxed twice, since people paid taxes on money when it was earned and will pay again when it is spent. Students could also face a greater tax burden as they're charged at a higher rate when they buy something rather than on how much they make. The Fair Tax Act was introduced earlier this month by Representative Buddy Carter of Georgia, along with a group of conservative Republican co-sponsors who claimed the bill would simplify the tax code and make it more fair. To make it more fair to whom? According to Garrett Watson of the Tax Foundation, the shift might be a simplification for an individual taxpayer because it removes having to deal with income tax rules, but it would make it more complicated for businesses. Some of this shift is just shifting where the complexity is dealt with. Similar proposals have been regularly introduced by a group of Republicans since 1999, but have never been given a floor vote. Some conservative Republicans have been pressuring the White House sheesh, have been pressuring House Speaker Kevin McCarthy to change that given the slim majority in the House. Republicans have been fighting to reverse billions of dollars in new funding for the IRS enforcement, which includes the inflation included in the Inflation Reduction Act, but the Fair Tax Act would abolish the IRS together, instead outsourcing the work to states, which would be responsible for collecting the national sales taxes for the Treasury. What? Okay. So you're just shifting the burden. Okay. With the collections being transferred to states, the Fair Tax Act allows for states to keep 0.25% of what they collect to pay for administrative costs. The Tax Policy Center estimates this would wipe out any savings the federal government gets from the elimination of IRS budget. So they don't even, like, the whole point, well, one of the premises of even attempting to abolish the IRS is because they want us to believe it's on the idea that they're going to save money by not wasting it on useless agencies such as the IRS. But that's not even true. That's not even true. Wow. Congress is facing a looming battle over the debt ceiling as Republican lawmakers call for the U.S. to rein in spending, but tax experts believe a move to a national 30% sales tax could deepen the deficit. Of course, Republicans historically and presently have been responsible always for increasing, the deficit. It's a political football. Congress is facing. Garrett, as Garrett pointed out, the proposed rate was determined years ago, so it's outdated. Some analyses over the years suggest it could take closer to a 40% sales tax for such a plan to break even. Can you imagine a 40% sales tax to make this plan even solvent? To break even, it would require a 40% sales tax on all items. Think about that. Think about that. The proposal is currently broad in what goods and services Americans would pay taxes on, so any exemption would put a further dent in the collections. Democratic Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries lambasted the Republican proposal on yesterday, claiming it would further burden families who have already been crushed by soaring inflation. Again, that's like that's what I was saying earlier, right? You can't cry and screech about inflation and then propose such an asinine policy. Wolfland, yes. So add 40% to your grocery bill. Correct. If as Heat just pointed out, if it's included, because then the fight will be like, well, what's going to be taxed? What is going to be counted in these goods and services? And food is going to definitely be a point of contention. But then the question, a car could cost 40% more. And then the problem is, well, is the government going to even be able to generate enough revenue? Yeah, that's right. So 400 at 40% is about 160 more. That I feel like that's correct. I feel like that's correct because 1% of 1% of 400 is 4, so 10% would be 40. and then you multiply that by 4. So that's 16, which is 160. That the math checks out in my head. How do I report this account? There we go. Sorry about that. Let me just get rid of this here. Cool. Yeah, depending on the cost, you might need to add a couple $100 on top of that. Politically savvy, and I can do math. Oh yeah, I can definitely do math with numbers and divide in increments of 10. Yes. 40% would crush us. Yeah, that's the problem. 40%. Not only would 40% be like devastating, to 40% would be devastating to the working class, but it's just not feasible, because then the fight would be what goods are going to fall under this, and then like, well, if we start excluding things, then well, how is the government even going to be able to provide enough revenue? My girlfriend is literally wearing the same beanie. Nice! Nice! It's a hive mind, okay? It's the beanie hive mind. It'll be aight. That's right. Pay 40% more on drug copays? Yeah, unless they fight about that too. Which then, like, okay, so what is going to be 40% more? And is that enough to even start, even if is that enough to even build revenue for the government? Probably not. Because what are you going to tell people? What are you going to tell Americans? Yeah, it turns out that, you know, electronics are now going to be 40% more. That's not gonna fly. You can't tell Americans. You can't tell Americans that their food is gonna be 40% more. That's not gonna fly. They're gonna have to exclude that. You can't tell Americans that their drug copays are gonna be 40% more. You can't tell that to Americans. So that's not gonna fly. So okay, good luck. Well, the government gets taxes, but people will not buy no more computers, movie. Yeah, anything that's like that's going to be affected by this, it's dead. It's not happening. I really do think that Nightmare Before Christmas stuff is a hive mind like the freaking Borg, led by Zero himself. True. 40% sales tax means 40% increase in price. The corporations aren't going to take that hit. Exactly. Especially after being given these freebies. They're not going to have to pay payroll taxes. They're not going to have to pay what is it that else is excluded? Hold on. They're not going to have to pay corporate income tax. Nice. Yep, to go to a movie, to go out. McDonald's is costing 40% more. True. True. Think about it, America. McDonald's is going to be 40% more, okay? So here's the thing. By law, corporations are people, right? So if they don't pay income tax, does that mean I don't pay income tax? Yes, you wouldn't pay income tax. You would just be paying a 40% sales tax. Like, imagine having to pay like almost 40% for everything else. You would be paying more in income tax in sales taxes. So yeah, be careful what you wish for. The poor should be working at their job anyways, not enjoying life. True. No reason to own a home. Yeah. That's why I'm asking. I already give about 40% of my paycheck in taxes. Yeah, 40% of your paycheck. Now imagine if you had to imagine if you exchange that. So yeah, you get your full paycheck, but every single thing that you have to buy is now subject to a 40% increase. I would argue that's probably worse. So yeah, even if my paycheck was taxed at 40%, it'll be aight. People would be selling eggs like heroin, shady alley deals for eggs. Yeah, it's already bad enough with this. Yeah, bartering would be the new black market. Yeah, the Republican Party, folks. Yep. I love the 30% sales tax, said Joe Brandon sarcastically on Tuesday, also taking a crack at the Fair Tax Act during a meeting with congressional Dems at the White House. We want to talk a lot about that. In a recent op-ed in the Wall Street Journal editorial board, also lampooned the effort, calling the Fair Tax Act a gift to Democratic campaigns to retake the House. Yeah. Cool. House Dems want to deny George Santos access to classified information. Probably a good idea. Yeah, probably a good idea. Forget all the other talk. I actually do think we should have more bartering in our lives. We lost something when we went fiat. Bartering was part of what we lost. I mean, yeah. Nearly all U.S. mass attackers were male and faced major life stressors. This is a very interesting report. The U.S. Secret Service released a first-of-its-kind report. Yeah, good thing there isn't a giant debt ceiling crisis that could put us in a recession or depression. Nah. Yeah. This is fine. We're doing all right. Well, unfortunately, Lockwood, it isn't a joke if it's true. So the U.S. Secret Service released the first of its kind report that analyzes 173 mass attacks that took place in the country from 2016 to 2020. It's the first time the agency has put together trends collected from 5 years of data. The report examines everything from when in the year the attacks took place to the behavioral exchanges exhibited in the attackers. The report, which comes from the agency's National Threat Assessment Center, looked at the attacks that harmed at least 3 individuals, not included the attacker. The report comes just days after 2 shootings in California in Monterey Park and Half Moon Bay, killing 18 people so far in 2023. There have been 39 mass shootings. Yeah. Cool. Perfectly normal. Lena Alathari, Chief of National Threat Assessment Center. Yeah, even... Hey, listen, Lockwood. Even a broken clock is right twice a day, you know?
Please clap.
Lena Alathari, Chief of the National Threat Assessment Center, said that she hopes the research and guidance provided in the report can help prevent future mass attacks. We must do everything we can to prevent these, which is why we're putting this research out to you. There's no community that is immune from this. So let's take a look at some top data points. The location. Most attacks took place in a variety of public and semi-public spaces across 37 states and Washington, D.C. The most common locations for attacks were businesses including restaurants and retail. Types of weapons used. 126 of the attacks, or 73%, involved the use of one or more firearms. Nearly 1/4 of the attack involved nearly 1/4 of the attacks involving firearms, at least one of the firearms was acquired illegally by the attacker. Another way to put it is that the majority of the firearms that were obtained were legal. Demographics of the attackers. 96% of the attackers were male. Yeah. Yeah. The U.S. Secret Service says this finding is consistent with previous analysis of mass attacks. 57% were white, 34% were black. Criminal history. 64% had a prior criminal history, not including minor traffic violations. 41% of the attackers were found to have a history of domestic violence. Yeah. Only 16% of those, but only 16% of those individuals faced actual domestic violence charges. It's almost like domestic violence is, how should I say, a red flag. A majority of the attackers had identified presence online, and nearly 1/4 were found to have conveyed concerning communication such as threats, posting about suicidal ideation, previous mass shootings, and violent content and hatred towards a specific ethnic group. At least one, the one attack was from a 6-year-old. Yep. Nearly all the attackers experienced at least one significant stressor within the 5 years of the attack, most of which were issues with family and romantic relationships. 20% of the attackers experienced some kind of childhood trauma, including physical or sexual abuse, entering foster care, living in a refugee camp, or the death of a parent. Damn. It's almost like there should be a universal healthcare system that encompasses mental health. It's almost like there should be some sort of system in place where this is accessible and actually accessible. Not like it's cheap, meaning, hey, I'm suffering from X, Y, or Z mental illness. It should not cost you $100+, $200+ per session. Per session, folks. Plus, a nasty boyfriend loophole where people who aren't married don't get their guns taken away after the domestic abuse takes place. That's right. That's right. That's right. Financial and housing instability. 72% of the attackers experienced a financial stressor sometime before the attack. Damn. And over half experienced it within 5 years. The report describes some financial stressor as bankruptcy, eviction, foreclosure, and loss of income. Damn. It's almost like the system that I've been advocating for would provide positive externalities that could trickle down to even alleviating some of these problems that could lead to these mass attacks, as they call it. Food, housing, education, and healthcare. Damn. The report describes some financial stressor as bankruptcy, foreclosure, loss of income, or loss of income. 39% of the attackers also experienced unstable housing within 20 years of their attack, including homelessness and impending evictions. The report says that 180 attackers examined in the report, 58% experienced mental health symptoms prior to or at the time of the attack, which include depression, suicidal thoughts, psychotic symptoms such as paranoia and delusion. If only we had some type of universal healthcare system that encompasses mental health and can also, assist in destigmatizing getting mental health too. Closing the boyfriend loophole was a good idea. That closing that is a good idea. That's. The report makes it clear that mental health factors should not be considered causal explanation for why these attacks occurred. Mental illness is not a barometer for dangerousness, and it's not a correlation for the mass attacks. No, nor does this report indicate that. It's presenting numerous different factors. I do know if the system could help destigmatize anything, though it's more of a culture thing, especially among men and conservatives. But the fact that, also you have the problem of privatization certainly doesn't help. But there is a cultural aspect to it, too. Yes, I agree with that. Mental illness is not a barometer. Yes, okay. The agency says violence like mass attacks are rarely spontaneous and almost always have some warning signs in the attacker. The report doesn't offer any kind of roadmap to prevent future mass attacks, but the agency recommends community systems be set up to help identify and intervene when someone reports concerns about another person. I'm being made to dab. With the rollout of the U.S. Secret Service support, they're also holding a virtual event. Al-Thari said 21,000 people to sign up from all 50 states and 80 countries. Everyone has a role to play in prevention. It's just one person's responsibility or one organization. It's just one person's responsibility or organization. It's a community-wide, multidisciplinary effort. Welcome, Cosmic Seeking. You're good. Yeah, so, I mean, it's not that you're going to snap your fingers and get rid of every single mass attack. But if you alleviate some of these factors, I would wager that, you are going to have a positive impact. Making sure people have food, housing, education, and healthcare would have a ripple effect in assisting to prevent some of these things. Maybe not 100%, but man, if all of these have been kind of noted as factors, things like financial stressors, housing instability, I mean, it only makes sense to maybe, I don't know, do something about that. All right. Let's switch gears really quick.
If you'd like to help support this channel, join our patrons-only Discord, and get early access to every video, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/secondthought. In the immortal words of philosopher Tom DeLonge, work sucks, I know.
Work sucks. I know. Didn't they get back together, or shoot? Didn't Blink-182 get back together? Or not? I forget. I could have sworn reading something about that. Not recently, but like maybe a year and something ago. Could have sworn.
So, what if we worked less? You know that feeling when you get to work on Wednesday morning and you're like, man, I've still got half a week to go. It's awful, and people have been experiencing.
Work doesn't suck. The modern industrialized iteration of work sucks. I love my work. No, okay. So yeah, no, I think you're talking like you're taking it to literal, not like working, like doing stuff sucks. It's capitalism that sucks. Okay? It's capitalism that keeps us in these bullshit jobs, in this perpetual hamster wheel. That's what sucks. I mean, like, doing stuff, like work, people love to work. If you give people a choice, yeah, people love to work. It isn't because people don't want to work. It's just like, I don't know. It's what we're talking about. Is like the modern iteration of like that. I love my work and it's 100% contingent on capitalism. I just make advertisements all day and pretend it's art. Yeah, but see, that's the thing though. Like, not everybody gets to enjoy what they do, right? Not everybody has that option, right? If I could do art all day, yeah, that's what I would do. If I had the ability to do whatever it is that I want, I would just be like doing projects on my own. Like I would be working. But yeah, capitalism doesn't really give you that much room. You've got bills to pay. Food costs money. So yeah, you take what you get in this system, and that's about it. It's messed up.
Experiencing that same feeling for like 100 years now. Though admittedly, back then, most workers were just glad they weren't working 100-hour weeks like their parents had. All the way back in 1926, the Ford Motor Company decided to implement a 5-day, 40-hour work week. This was due to a number of factors, primarily pressure from militant labor, but also the fact that Henry Ford thought that by offering pretty solid employment perks for the time, comparatively good work-life balance, and a wage well above the average, he could grow his customer base, which would increase brand recognition and drive further sales. A little over a decade later, the Fair Labor Standards Act codified a 44-hour workweek in federal law, and that was adjusted to 40 hours per week 2 years later. This meant that if bosses wanted their employees to work longer hours, they'd have to pay overtime. There were, and still are, plenty of exceptions to this rule, but that's a topic for another video. The point is, there haven't been any meaningful changes to the federally recognized work week since the World War II era.
Yeah, that's true. What is rage applying? I have no idea. I've never heard that. I've never heard the term rage applying. Like, do you just go around applying to every single open position while at work because you're about to rage quit the current job? So you're rage applying? I don't know what that word means. I'm just saying, if you can find a way into doing something you love, work is fine. Like, I'd love to work with food because food is my true passion, but I despise the capitalist industrial food service. Yeah. So the problem is capitalism. Yeah. It's not that people don't want to work. It's not that you don't like to work. Yeah. I agree.
Why is that? Let's look at some historical context. The period leading up to the recognition of the 5-day, 40-hour workweek was...
Dude, HR should be abolished. HR departments judging people for rage applying, but like, what is rage applying? I have no idea what that term means. I know what rage quit means, coming from the video game side. I know what rage quit means. Rage applying happens when an employee is feeling unappreciated, perhaps from being passed over for a promotion and being paid an unfair wage. This feeling inspires them to send out resumes. Oh yeah, okay, so I was right. But like, why is that such a negative connotation? Yes. My current place is dog shit, so I'm gonna look for a better place that would, treat me better or give me more money. Dude, that's just the nature of the game. Like, how toxic is it that there's actually a corporate term called rage applying? That's such garbage, dude. That's such garbage. It's like, first they were complaining about silent quitting, which is just, doing the work that you feel your wage is worth, doing the work that you're being paid for. And now what? They're trying to shoehorn rage applying, which just means, hey, I'm trying to look for something better because this place is garbage. Okay. Oh, man. This is why I tell my girlfriend, only do exactly what your job description is and stop caring for the company. They don't care about you, and they care about money because that's all they care about, but she's a bleeding heart and can't just not care. Yeah, I'm pretty good with that. Because it's true. If my job description says X, Y, or Z, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. If my job description is X, Y, Z and I'm getting paid X, that's about as far as it's gonna go. You just have to fake that you care, true. Toxic HR is not mentioned. Yeah, of course. But also, just to kind of like hammer the point, Lockwood, yeah. It's not that people don't want to work. It's just that capitalism is dog shit. That's it. So, yeah, clearly, obviously, she wants to work and she wants to put, go above and beyond and whatnot, because it's not about people not wanting to work. But yeah, you're right.
Was incredibly tumultuous. You had the First World War, intense labor and union activity pushing for better conditions, the Great Depression, and then the Second World War. Americans were fed up with being treated like dirt and used as cannon fodder for the benefit of society's upper crust. In addition to these factors, the Industrial Revolution shifted the way we look at work. It drew...
Yeah. James Naprow's going, I've not really studied this much, and I'd imagine that there's a field that does, but there's something of an illusion cast over a lot of Western countries, I think, in that we believe work has changed and that labor eventually moves inside, but it's not really true, is it? A lot of work still happens outside and fuels our existence, but it's out of sight. It's in poor countries, it's in poor regions, it's out of mind for us. Hard work is what makes things go till this day, but it's just not our hard work. Yes, there's another video where Second Thought kind of taps on that. Yes.
Threw hundreds of thousands of people into new, developing cities to work in factories, and productivity went through the roof with the implementation of new machinery. The combination of these technological, economic, and social factors made it possible for workers to secure some important victories for labor, including the modern workweek as we know it. If you'd like to learn a bit more about the importance and power of militant labor, check out the recent episode we did on unions. Now, if productivity gains were a major factor in winning the 5-day workweek, why haven't we seen something similar in more recent years? Since 1979, breakthroughs in computing and other modern technologies have allowed a sort of second industrial revolution. Productivity has once again swiftly increased, and has vastly outpaced worker compensation. We're getting more done today in a single afternoon than our grandparents could have done in a week, and we're getting paid less for it when adjusted for inflation and cost of living. We don't need to work as many hours as we do to accomplish our tasks. So why haven't we shortened the workweek accordingly? Well, as with most things starting around the 70s and 80s, we can thank everyone's favorite president, Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan. Hey! Oi.
Surprise anyone that delinking productivity gains from worker compensation was intentional. Policymakers in the Reagan era, and in the extended Reagan universe since then, have tried their best to decouple economic growth from employee
universe. I
compensation.
love it. Ah.
Meaning that as companies reap larger profits, they don't also have to raise employee pay, which in turn means more of that money goes into the pockets of executives and shareholders. This more conservative economic worldview, part of Reagan's famous trickle-down economics, which, mind you, has been thoroughly debunked in recent years, also explains the reason we haven't heard much talk of shortening the workweek. Why give workers more time off when you can just keep squeezing more value out of them? But here's the thing. We have the data to show that a shorter workweek not only improves workers' lives, but positively impacts the company they work for too. Let me explain. It's no secret that humans aren't productive the entire 8 or so hours they're at work. There's just not enough to keep us busy for that long. The exact figures vary by industry, but on average, workers are only engaged in productive, business-related activities for less than 60% of the day. The stats for office workers are particularly striking.
uBlock Origin killed those ads, true. Krupliklik, welcome.
Assuming an 8-hour day.
Or Brave browser? What? No, I kind of like Chrome. Oh. Interesting. Gotta look into this Brave browser. Thank you for the follow, I appreciate it. It's like Chrome without all the Google spying. Nice. Nice. Okay, that piques my interest.
The average office worker is only productive for 2 hours and 23 minutes. That's a huge amount of time where there's just nothing to do. There are only so many emails you can respond to after all. Now, we've got a couple options here. The first is for the boss to find a way to force workers to be productive for the entire 8 hours, or at least closer to it. Usually this takes the form of enforcing busy work. For me, when I worked at Best Buy selling cameras, that meant polishing the lens cases anytime I wasn't actively talking to a customer. And let me tell you, those were the cleanest panes of glass in all of Texas. After a certain point, it's just ridiculous to try to keep workers working for the sake of not being unproductive.
I'm out, y'all. Going to
this practice has overwhelmingly negative
I make
effects.
biscuits and gravy.
It's mind-numbing, pointless, and makes you hate your job and your boss just a little bit more. Even from a capitalist perspective, it's pretty clear that enforcing maximum productivity is a net negative. That's where shortening the workweek comes in. There have been a number of 4-day workweek trials in different countries over the last few years. Let's take a look at some of the conclusions from the most recent experiments, which were conducted in the US and Ireland in 2022. The two trials, which began in February and March, consisted of 33 companies and over 900 employees. The premise was simple. Companies that were interested in trying out a reduced work week received training, tools, and prep to make sure the transition from 5 days to 4 went smoothly. The goals were to maintain productivity and revenue while increasing employee morale and improving work-life balance.
Nice.
But the actual results blew those goals out of the water. Not only did revenue not decrease, it actually rose by 8%. Employee retention rose, absenteeism dropped. 2/3 of workers reported lower levels of burnout. Ratings for mental and physical health improved as workers could get more sleep and had more time to exercise. And they were less bored at work since there was less pointless downtime and busy work. Across the board, in every aspect of work, ratings improved for both the employees and the companies. These pilot programs were so successful that 97% of involved workers responded in favor of continuing the 4-day workweek. Presumably, those last 3% just really like water cooler small talk about the weather or something. Very few things in life return results as clearly positive as these 4-day workweek trials. This is clearly the way forward, and it's essentially unanimous among workers, with some of them even reporting that no amount of money could convince them to return to a 5-day workweek. And all this is just considering the immediate effects on companies and their workers. The subsequent social and environmental effects would also be significant. Take commuting, for example. If a 4-day workweek were implemented at the federal level, that's a 20% reduction in commuting overnight.
Wow.
Roughly 130 million Americans drive to work every day. Think of the reduction in emissions from car exhaust from this one change alone. That is a staggering improvement, and one with essentially zero drawbacks, except presumably more intense propaganda from the fossil fuel industry as their profits shrink. Then as far as societal changes go, just think about what you would do with an extra weekend day every week. Think how many more meaningful things we could do with family and friends, or heck, just by ourselves.
True. Damn. Maybe not a problem, but a critique is that it feels very office-centric and could be interpreted as privileged. Emergency workers, for example, can't cut down to 4 days. Farmers can't cut down to 4 days. They usually work 7. Public transport workers might not be able to. Teachers is definitely a no-go. The solution to these industries would be they need to employ lots of more people, which is costly. Yeah, I mean, but like, these would presumably could be solved with like shifts, right? Presumably. So like emergency workers for the most part are public, right? So the government could make schedules where these emergency workers are now in shifts. Yeah, it would cost a little more, but I mean, we could listen to you more. True, you'd listen to me more. That's right. That's a good thing. The same goes for like public transport workers, where yeah, they would have to hire more and make shifts. Yeah. But these are things that you can work around, right? Presumably. Maybe the farming would be a little tougher. Maybe the farming would be tough, would be more tougher to adjust to, because like farming isn't like a thing that you wake up and you go to work from like 9 to 5. That's presumably that's not how farming works.
Simply getting to decompress and take an extra day for ourselves would dramatically improve the mental health of the entire
That being said, I understand your critique.
workforce. You'd end up with a country of happier, healthier, less stressed, more rested workers. This, by every possible measure, is a no-brainer. So, what's the catch? This sounds a little too good to be true. Well, for one thing, we have to consider where exactly this push is coming from. This guy, Andrew Barnes, is the one.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. If a 4-day work week is proven to be more productive, then one can presume that so will just 4-week school days. If you have to employ extra workers, the payroll costs would go up. Yeah, probably. In the in the industries that would require workers to be there like 24/7, EMS, emergency services as an example. But yeah, if those are like public services anyways, I mean, we should have a way of eating that cost up.
One more or less responsible for popularizing the notion of the 4-day workweek. He's a CEO himself, a position antagonistic to labor. Even if he has the best of intentions, the inherent contradictions between capital and labor makes his advocacy for a 4-day workweek tenuous at best. Regardless of how nice a guy he seems, look at how he talks about the initiative.
Now, people were changing their behaviors. They were recognizing that the day off was a gift, and it had to be earned. It wasn't something that you could just take for granted.
Barnes sees the 4-day week as a gift to his workers.
Ha! Would not corporate push more work in the 4 days? I mean, there's only so much time, and furthermore, like his original premise is, we already get a lot more done in shorter amounts of time. But there's reverberating effects of cutting down the school week. Means people have to find childcare, which means the curriculum might have to be reshuffled. How do you cycle in and out of students? Well, presumably you would be on the same schedule, right? You would be on a 4-day work week. You would be on a 4-day work week, right? Like if you're a teacher, if you're working like your regular 9 to 5 job, but it's just 4 days, and your kid also has school for just 4 days, it kind of just, nothing really changes in that scenario. Nothing really changes in that scenario. But where do farmer kids go? I mean, like, yeah, you would probably have to, you would probably have to find a solution in certain circumstances, just like, well, where do the kids of nurses that work overnight all the time go? My sister works night shift. You know? Like, yeah, people have this is already a problem. Like, this is already a problem. It's not a new problem. We would deal with it the same way. Yeah, society would have to change a little bit. Yeah, like James Napper proposed, you know, it's there are gonna be some conundrums, and yeah, we are gonna have to have some more flexibility. But it's not a problem that hasn't existed. You know, we have this issue right now. There are people who work like the most bizarre of schedules, and like, yeah, what do their kids do? Well, you gotta work around it. A teacher is probably a bad example. Students benefit from total time spent with teacher. I mean, yeah, but also, students, you know, just like people who work, probably don't need to be there every day of the week, right? You know? They also do benefit from spending time with family. They also do benefit from spending time with their parents. The thing is, like, I'm an advocate of reducing the work week. I've championed it for a long time, but I think it does require a substantial reshuffle of how we build everything. We need to really look at how we cycle workers in and out, and how many people we hire in roles, how many we train for people, and what you can budget in for each field. Yeah, sure. But it's not something that we can't do. I agree with this, but it's not something that we can't do. Can't really do a 4-day class schedule without a 4-day work week. True, presumably that's how that would play. Yeah, it looks like I'm going to be dropping a lot of frames. Oh, wait, no, we're good. Howdy. Welcome. All right. Well, we'll see if we can finish this. Anywho, so parents would have to cover teaching time that was reduced? No, because their work would also be reduced. Their work day would also be reduced. No, it's not you, Maple. It's OBS. But we're good. We're good. Oh man. Hopefully we're good. Serious question, do we work 10-hour days? If not, do we get paid more so we make the same time but in 32 hours? Yeah, hopefully that remains to be the case, Cosmic. I'm hoping that it's just a blip and we're good now. Realistically, the studies that were done, and the pilot programs that were done, even though they were reduced hours, the pay remained the same. So not only was it reduced hours, but the pay wasn't reduced, and it was wildly successful. So, yeah. We all missed about 10 minutes, maybe? Yeah, but I tried not to, like, you know, I tried not to, like, miss too much content, so that now that we're all here, we're good, we can resume.
Not as a right based simply on the fact that productivity has increased so dramatically in the last 100 years. That perspective is obviously flawed, and should serve as a useful reminder and a warning that the capitalist class is always willing to rescind these privileges in order to increase their profits. Indeed, if you listen to most of the executives who praise the initiative, it's less about the fact that a 4-day workweek is just common sense and more humane, and more about the fact that it yields more efficient and compliant cogs in their machine. This is not to say that these executives are necessarily bad people, just that the goals of capital and labor are in direct conflict. The goal of capital is to increase profits and decrease costs, and the goal of labor is to get as much money as possible for their time and labor power. These two things will never be in alignment. But in the case of the 4-day workweek, it's about as close as it gets.
Do you love Gantt charts?
What about the disabled? I've been having 11-month issues for transportation, wheelchair, as it is already. What do you mean? Like, for the 4-day weekend?
We've seen so far have followed the 100-80-100 model, a proposition that guarantees 100% of the worker's normal pay in 80% of the time, with a commitment to deliver 100% of their work in that time. Workers get time off and keep their pay. Businesses reduce costs in the form of electricity, turnover, and inefficiency. There are benefits to both parties, and that is the only reason we might see this actually come to pass. But here's the thing. While we absolutely should push for the federal implementation of a 4-day workweek, we also have to be cognizant of the fact that until that time, this initiative is entirely dependent on the willingness of the capitalist class. We only won the 5-day workweek thanks to a tremendously powerful militant labor movement. Same with all the other things we take for granted today. Child labor laws, workplace safety laws, social security, vacation time, and so much more. As we've explored in past videos, we are at the beginning of a new labor movement, but it's nowhere near as strong as it was 100 years ago. I'm not saying that to discourage anyone, but rather to remind you that without the strength of militant labor behind the movement for a 4-day workweek, the capitalist class will not feel any pressure to actually go through with it, especially in industries where reducing working hours would cut into profits. So yes,
Yeah, but
while
they
it
didn't
is
have any
obvious
memes,
that it's
true.
high time to bring our conception of work into the 21st century, we also need to continue building the labor movement so that we can demand these changes, not depend on the unreliable and self-serving generosity of the capitalist class. There was a time when workers had real say in their working conditions, and we can have that again. If you'd like to be a part of that, look into unionizing your workplace or joining a socialist organization. I've left links to the IWW and some of the bigger orgs in the description. Every one of us has a role to play. It's only together that we can force the change we want to see. Why not start with a 4-day work week?
True. I agree with this. America also has the 3-job work week too. True. I would honestly love it. Me too. Honestly, it would do a lot. Having a 3-day weekend would do a lot. We could all think of jobs that require the worker to be there 5 days a week, and this will be a horses for course. I have no idea what that means, and I already I already addressed that. What job would be requiring specifically to be there 5 days? What specific job has to specifically be 5 days? Exactly. Exactly. I would also add that I don't think people would begrudge work or need to work 3 jobs at once if they didn't have to use 3/4 of their income to pay for 4 walls and a roof. But apparently, it's controversial to talk about why we shouldn't have privatized commodification of housing. True. A small business with 2 employees. If your small business with 2 employees is like sink or swim because they have to be there 1 extra day, then that's a you problem, not the system itself. That's a you problem. Yeah. There's literally no job in the planet that would require you to have to be there specifically 5 days. Okay? If your job requires you to be there like 24/7, as numerous people, a couple of people in chat have pointed out, like an EMS kind of job, if you work EMT, or any type of emergency services that are 24/7, yeah, you organize shifts. Exactly. These laws never seem to apply to mom and pop stores. True. I mean, like, it's very simple. If you're a small business of 2 employees requires it to be open for 5 days, then that's like a problem with your business model, probably. You'll be aight. Switching gears, the U.S. finds Louisiana deliberately kept inmates past release date. Yeah. Family Farm is a 7-day work week. Yeah, that's the one that James brought up. That's a bit of a conundrum. Something like farming doesn't really have like that kind of option. Not really. So that one requires a little bit more thinking. True. Gotta love private prisons. The Justice Department found Louisiana violated the U.S. Constitution by confining people in its custody past the dates where they were legally entitled to be released, adding state authorities were deliberately indifferent to systemic over-detention. Yikes. Those are businesses. They're the owners of their own business, so it's different from a job that you're hired to do. Okay, I mean, yeah, sure. Alia redeeming a cute animal video. I need to change that freaking thing. So what I'm gonna do instead of a cute animal video is I will display a cat on stream. Like, instead of cute animal video, what I'm gonna do is just put like 10,000 points, turns on like the cat cam or something. That's what I'm gonna do. Look at that. Isn't this a cute animal? Are we not on video? I think that counts. Right, Makita? I think she counts. Rip, there goes my phone. I noticed that my frames get a little wonky when I switch slides. Huh. No, I guess it's fine. Maybe that was just a coincidence. The expression I see on her face is, I will tolerate exactly 90 more seconds before I scratch your face. Yeah, she attempted to bite my hand. She's like, what do you think I am? I am not a prop. It's funny because she does this all while purring up a storm. I think she got angry at me because she was hanging out on my lap this entire time, and I picked her up. That's why her emo is the perfect encapsulation of her, because she always has that expression. It's the funniest thing. Hold on, folks. Shoot. Okay, there we go. All right. Criminal justice, folks. Let's focus. Cats equals household predator purring while seeking blood. Seriously. Honestly, like, I had her hanging out on my lap. She was fine until I disturbed her. The Justice Department found Louisiana violated the U.S. Constitution by confining people in its custody past the date when they were legally entitled to be released, adding state authorities were deliberately indifferent to systemic over-detention. There is reasonable cause to believe that Louisiana Department of Public Safety and Corrections routinely confines people in its custody past the dates when they were legally entitled to be released from custody in violation of the 14th Amendment. The Justice Department said it concluded that the LDOC denies individuals due process rights to timely release from incarceration. The LDOC is deliberately indifferent to systemic over-detention of people in its custody. How is this? Okay, whatever, Automod. That's kind of... Sure. My favorite is when they lick you, clean even, the area prior to biting. She rarely gives me licks. Yeah, it's not... I bet if we do more wide investigations, we're gonna find it's not just Louisiana. The LDOC said it was reviewing the Justice Department report that was released on Wednesday, adding it had cooperated with federal officials during their probe. Between January of 2022 and April of 2022, 26% of the people released from LDOC's custody were held past the release date. That's a lot. That's an uncomfortable amount, over a quarter of cases. The Justice Department said of those over detained, 24% were held over at least 90 days. That's 3 months, folks. The Justice Department initiated its investigation in December of 2020. It said on Wednesday that it provided Louisiana authorities and the LDOC with written notice of the findings and the minimum remedial measures necessary to address them. Notice that a lawsuit could be initiated by the Justice Department if these issues are not addressed. Last year, the Justice Department also opened a civil rights probe into the Louisiana State Police more than 3 years after the deadly arrest of black motorist Ronald Green in 2019. Yeah, yikes. Yikes. And like Maple said, I bet if you do more investigations, you'll find that it's probably not just Louisiana. How many were those in private and versus state prison? I don't know. It didn't really differentiate, right? This is just like the overall Department of Corrections for the state. It didn't really specify, but that would be a good tidbit of information, right? Because if we knew, or if we find out that it turns out that the majority of these incidents happened in private prisons, oh boy, yeah, but we don't have that data point unless someone can find it, but I don't think they mentioned it specifically. I'd wager it's a higher percentage in private prisons, probably. Totally off topic, but have you seen the new ad against Josh Hawley? No. But before we get into the last article, if you want to put it in chat, because the last article is it's not going to be a fun one. So if you want to throw up a meme story, we'll do that one. Here we are.
My name is Lucas Kuntz. I've done a lot of running in my life. Running to stay healthy, running to fight for my country, running to defend democracy. Oh, and by the way, that guy you're looking at, that's not me. That's our current U.S. Senator Josh Hawley. This guy. Or maybe you'd better recognize him running for his life a few hours later.
Oh my God.
I swear, this coward's always running from something. And now, this is the guy who's writing a book telling every single one of us how to be a man. Now this is me, Lucas Kuntz, running for Senate. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth, but I did have the support of my community, which made me who I am today. When things get tough, Missourians deserve a U.S. Senator who will stand up for them, not run away.
I mean, for Missouri? Damn.
That's why I'm running to replace Josh Hawley, because we couldn't be more different. When his banker daddy sent Joshua to a fancy prep school miles from his hometown, my family in Jeff City was relying on our neighbors to survive bankruptcy and medical bills. When he graduated from law school, he joined one of the world's most elite corporate law firms. I joined the Marine Corps to pay back the community that took care of me. When he was climbing the ladder to become another corrupt politician, I was serving my country and working to put an end to overseas wars. When giant corporations were stripping Missouri for parts, he attacked workers and shipped our jobs away, while I fought to take power back for American workers and small businesses. And when he voted against relief for vets like me who were exposed to toxic burn pits, I stood up alongside thousands of veterans to hold him accountable. I'm Lucas Kuntz, and I approve this message because Josh Hawley is a fraud and a coward. And by the time I'm done with him, the whole world's gonna know it. So keep on running, Josh. Keep on running.
Ah! Is Lucas a Democrat? Yes. That's a good meme. That's a good meme. I mean, no lies detected. Josh Hawley is a fraud and a coward. Fuck him, Josh Hawley? Yeah, true. True. Fuck Josh Hawley. You're right. Correct. True. All right, folks. Yeah, this one's a bad one, folks. You ready for WWE3? True, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready for WWE3, dude. True. Super ready. 5 former Memphis police officers indicted on charges of murder and kidnapping in Tyre Nichols' death. This happened recently. This is really bad, folks. Yeah. So let's get into it. 5 former Memphis police officers who were fired for their actions during the arrest of Tyre Nichols earlier this month were indicted on charges including murder and kidnapping. The former officers, Tadarius Bean, Demetrius Haley, Justin Smith, Emmett Martin, and Desmond Mills Jr. have been charged with second-degree murder, aggravated assault, and 2 charges of aggravated kidnapping, 2 charges of official misconduct, and 1 charge of official oppression. While each of the 5 individuals played a different role in the incident in question, the actions of all of them resulted in the death of Tyre Nichols, and all of them are responsible. True. Second-degree murder is defined in Tennessee as knowing killing. That's such a weird framing. Whatever. Knowingly killing of another, and is considered a class felony punishable by 15 to 60 years in prison. The criminal charges come about 3 weeks after Nichols, 29-year-old black man, was hospitalized after a traffic stop and a confrontation with Memphis police. Now, family attorneys have called a savage beating. This beating took place for 3 minutes. No aid was rendered, not sufficiently, and he essentially was beaten to death by 5 police officers. Yeah, that's messed up. Nichols died from his injuries on January 10th, 3 days after the arrest. All 5 officers are in custody. Their attorneys did not immediately respond for requests for comment. They were booked into the Shelby County Jail. Oh, F again? Wait. Are we good? Are we good before I continue? It seems like we're okay. But we lost you for about 30 seconds. Okay. So because this is an important story, I'll do a little rewind real quick. I gotta keep track of this. I don't know what's going on, but here, I'll leave OBS over here so that I can see if I drop too many frames. All right, let's rewind over here. While each of the 5 individuals played a different role in the results, and they're all responsible.